Listen closely, for this is a tale of mountains and mines, of burden and breath, of a young soul who learned that peace is not a destination, but a way of walking. The mountain village sat perched like a weathered nest among the clouds, its stone paths worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Up here, where the air thinned and the world grew quiet, an old man lived in a house no larger than a prayer. But our story begins far below, in the valley where Marco dwelled. At 24, Marco carried a weight no scale could measure. Picture him, shoulders curved inward, eyes scanning some invisible horizon that existed only in his mind. While cherry blossoms drifted past his window each spring, he saw only the winters of his regret. While rain drummed its ancient song on his rooftop, he heard only the thunder of tomorrow's fears. His mind had become a prison of his own construction, each thought a bar, each worry a lock. Night after night, he lay awake, staring at ceiling cracks that seemed to spell out his failures. The darkness pressed against his chest like a stone, and sleep, when it finally came, brought no rest, only dreams that chased him in mazes with no exit. "There must be more than this," he whispered to the dawn one morning, watching the sun paint the mountains gold. And that's when he heard the whisper, carried on wind, passed between market vendors, murmured by travelers. "In the mountains lives a man who knows the language of silence. He teaches not with words, but with water." So Marco began to climb. The path wound upward like a question mark. His legs burned, his lungs gasped at the thinning air, but with each step away from the valley, something in him lightened. The mountain demanded presence, one foot, then another, no room for yesterday's shame, no space for tomorrow's dread, only stone and breath and the next step forward.
3 days he climbed. When he finally reached the village, it was dusk. Lanterns flickered in windows like fireflies. The air smelled of pine smoke and mountain herbs, and there, sitting on a smooth stone bench, was the old man. His face was a map of smile lines and weathered wisdom. His eyes held the stillness of deep water. Marco poured out his story, the sleepless nights, the chains of thought, the relentless noise in his skull. The old man listened as mountains listen to wind, completely, without judgment, absorbing every word into vast silence. When Marco finished, the old man rose and disappeared into his small house. He returned, carrying a simple glass filled precisely to the brim with crystalline water. Each molecule kissed the edge without spilling. "Your task," the old man said, his voice soft as falling snow, "is to walk to the village edge and return. But hear me well, not one single drop may fall." Marco's fingers wrapped around the glass. It was cool against his palm. The water trembled with his heartbeat. "That's all?" Marco asked. The old man's eyes crinkled. "That is everything." So Marco began to walk. At first, every sound threatened his concentration. A door slammed, the water shivered, a child laughed. His world contracted to a single point of focus, the meniscus of water, that perfect curve where liquid meets air. His breath steadied. His steps found rhythm. The chaos of thought that usually stormed through his mind simply stopped. There was no room for it. All his awareness poured into this moment, the weight of the glass, the pressure of each footfall, the gentle adjustment needed to keep the water still.
past and future collapsed into an eternal now. He passed a vendor selling bright peppers and fragrant bread, saw nothing. He walked by children playing a clapping game, heard nothing. A woman called out a greeting, registered nothing. Only the water, only this step, only now. The village edge arrived and departed. Marco turned, the water still as a mirror, reflecting the darkening sky. His journey back felt like floating. His mind, usually a thunderstorm, had become the quiet eye at the storm's center. When he placed the glass in the old man's hands, not a drop spilled. He was both exhausted and strangely exhilarated. His body ached, but his mind felt clean, empty, light. "Tell me," the old man said, settling back onto his bench, "what did you see on your walk?" Marco opened his mouth to answer, then stopped, his brow furrowed. What had he seen? The path existed in his memory only as a blur, a background to his singular focus. The village, so vibrant when he arrived, had become a ghost while he walked. I saw nothing," I admitted. "Only the water." The old man nodded slowly, a smile spreading across his weathered face like sunrise. "And in that nothing," he said, "you found everything. When your whole being focuses on this breath, this step, this moment, where is the room for yesterday's ghosts? Where is the space for tomorrow's demons? They cannot exist in the now. They live only in the mind that has left the present." The words struck Marco like a bell, reverberating through his chest.
All this time, he'd been trying to escape his thoughts by fighting them, by pushing them away, by drowning them in distraction. But the old man had shown him another way, to become so fully present that thoughts simply had nowhere to land. Like a glass filled to the brim, there was no room for anything more. Marco stayed in the village for 7 days. Each morning he practiced presence, feeling the rough texture of his breakfast bowl, tasting each grain of rice as if for the first time, watching the way steam rose from his tea in lazy spirals. Each afternoon he walked the mountain paths, not to reach anywhere, but to feel the earth beneath his feet, to breathe the pine-scented air, to exist completely in his body rather than his mind. And slowly the chains began to fall away. He discovered that peace had always been there, waiting beneath the noise, like bedrock beneath soil. He didn't need to create it or find it or earn it. He needed only to stop abandoning it. When Marco descended the mountain, the valley had not changed, but he had. The same cherry blossoms drifted past his window, and this time he watched each petal's descent, marveling at its brief, perfect dance. The same rain drummed on his roof, and this time he listened to its rhythm, letting it wash away the dust of worry. His mind still generated thoughts. That's what minds do, like lungs breathe and hearts beat. But now he understood that he didn't have to climb aboard every thought that passed through. He could watch them drift by like clouds, acknowledging their presence without being consumed by them. The present moment became his home, and in that home he found the peace that had always been waiting. So I leave you with this, dear listener. What glass of water are you carrying? What task requires your complete presence? For in that focus, in that perfect attention to the now, you too will find the still water at the center of your being. The mountain taught Marco, and now Marco teaches us. Peace is not found, it is lived. Right here, right now, in this breath, in this moment.
Empty your mind, fill it with presence, and discover that you've been home all along.